Hi, I'm Jennifer and I'm again with Mary and Louise. Today we're going to talk about the characteristics of the Victorian era in Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. This novel was first published on January 28, 1830 as an anonymous work. It is the one of the best known works of English literature and the most famous of Jane Austen's novels and one of the first romantic comedies in the history of the novels. Mary, please tell us about who Jane Austen was.
Jane Austen lived in the Regency era from the 18th century to the 19th century. During the reign of George III, Jane carefully observed society and managed to convey a perfect image in her work. The British society at the turn of the century beloved prejudice and appearances described in a poetic, intelligent, and an ironic way the lives of young people and society through a detailed behavior characterization of the characters. Let me explain to you that Pride and Prejudice is often taken to be a Victorian novel because it's very realistic in its depictions of the early 19th century English society. At the time, English was still a land of aristocracy, even though the Industrial Revolution caused major changes in the class structure. So, let's begin with the characters. Please, Luis, continue.
Jane Austen uses her book to display the importance of marriage and social rank within the world of the Regency period, with a person of limited social standing, showing many aspects of marriage and demonstrating how one can make the most of their life regardless of the circumstances. She uses the characters' relationships in order to satirize and make a comedy of the idea of marriage, contradicting the conventional ideals and beliefs of the society, obviously in that era. Austen sweetens city life as much as possible, preferring descriptions of country life and the landscapes found there. Even this could permeate the characters, showing the difference in emotions and expressions between people of higher and lower societies. Well, Jennifer, what can you tell us about the plot of the novel?
Well, Pride and Prejudice narrates the adventure and love misadventure of the Bennet sisters, focusing in the character of Elizabeth, through which the author humorously presents the society of her time and places women in a more notorious place than the one that I correspond to him in his time with the figure of the protagonist. The use of vocabulary by the characters is very varied, being the upper class and the intellectual characters who make use of a more varied lexicon, arranged and even far-fetched. This is typical on highly idealized conversations or what was called fancy in the Victorian era. Mary, what are your thoughts about the relationship between Mr. Darcy and Lizzie?
The unique relationship that exists between Lizzie and Darcy is a doublet, the greatest attraction of the book, since the reader is attracted to her through the story, which goes through very different phases until finally accepting the love from part of both. Love is taken from different perspectives it can become very idealistic in several relationships present in the book, as well as a more real love, and with various flaws due to realness of Elizabeth and Darcy emotions, although we mustn't forget the fantastic part of it, since Mr. Darcy and even his sister are very fantastic personalities. We could also say that of Elizabeth's family, however, she moves further away from the circle on account of herself. Do you want to point something out, Luis?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say that something that is interesting to me in the figure of Mr. Darcy and in the difference that he has with the other person is his look towards the future, his plans and all those thoughts that do not look towards the present or that are only shown when he's with Lizzie. Contrary to him, all the other people seems to care about living in the moment, not worrying about what will come, and they enjoy a dance, a walk, a trip, or a meal, etc. Daily life, basically. Perhaps this is also a part of the characteristics of the Victorian era. Also, despite the fact that many consider the story that Austen presents to be romantic, the author seems to be moving away from the prototype of a love narrative that she used to give. I mean, the protagonist stumbles, yes, makes mistakes, obviously, like anyone when we're in love. And it is rather a realistic vision of what a romance between two people can become, where things may not always turn out as we wish. Well, Jennifer, you wanted to say something else, didn't you?
Yes, well, the interest of her work resides in the different psychological nuances of his characters, interpreted with a great quality, and his kind and understanding description, but no lacking in a malicious irony, of the social environment in which she places his characters, which is none other than the sound, that the one of the wealthy bourgeoisie. Another things I want to point out is that Elizabeth doesn't end up being a revolutionary feminist figure, because she doesn't end up breaking the standards of her society, and I could even say that in the end she embraces them. She thus became, for me, no more than another reformist figure, but not a revolutionary one. But Mary, how did you find England in the book? Or what about London?
Something that I also want to mention is how London is taken in the novel. I think that in a certain way there is a fear for the city. I mean that they describe it as a bit chaotic, thus differentiating very well from the calm of the countryside. I can even say that they only go to London because of the problems that the characters have. The novel ends with a happy ending, a major feature of the early Victorian era, despite everything the protagonists have been through and their difficult relationship with their relatives. Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy manage to have their love come true. thus leaving to the reader's imagination what will happen in the land where the wars of the time are palpable, full of oncoming changes, and whereof the country lands will be the escape route from an industrialized London.
Well, that's all the characteristics we found. Jennifer, could you tell us the conclusion, please?
In conclusion, Austen provides us with an entertaining and interesting work in all its aspects and endowed with a modernity and a touch of feminism unusual in the authors of England. That's all for today. Thank you for listening.